Hello, everybody. This is Carol Maletta. Welcome to the Parenting 411 podcast, where we share information parents need from sources they can trust. Hello there. We are back with part 2 of our mini series on savoring and surviving the toddler years. I'm back again with Chris Lake, and he's going to continue walking us through the motivations of our toddler behavior. Remember, he talked about M for medical needs, E for the desire to escape. And so now we're going to dive into attention seeking, tactile needs, and sensory stimulation. So let's turn it over to Chris.
Attention seeking, that's also just if you're around a phone in front of a toddler and all of a sudden they just need your love. They need hugs and mama, mama. They don't like, you're like, why do you need it now? Because your attention is dispersed. If you're talking to another adult and all of a sudden they're just pulling at your leg, mama, 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 that's attention. And there's other ways kids can seek attention too, such as throwing things, such as being naughty. A kid's favorite word, every kid that I've come across has the same exact favorite word, and that is their name. They don't care why they're hearing their name. They just love to hear their name. In particular, they love to hear their name very loud. Whatever will get mom or dad or whoever their favorite person in the room is right now to say their name the loudest, they will find a way to do if their attention bucket hasn't been filled. If their attention bucket is filled, then they'll probably have more mellow behavior. But if they feel attention starved all day, okay, I'm going to throw this. I'm going to break that. I'm going to climb this dangerous situation. I'm going to do this dangerous situation because then you're going to scream my name and I know from my perception, I'm loved. I'm getting that attention that I crave.
Yeah, and positive discipline, that's undue attention.
Right.
At attention at inappropriate times for inappropriate reasons.
and it's tricky, for the response to that is simply to what we call planned ignoring. You need to still keep them in peripherals, right? Because you don't want them to hurt themselves. But you need to let them know, like, I'm not going to attend to this until you start behaving the way that I want. If my daughter's screaming or fussing, I can't see her. And the second she calms down, water under the bridge. Oh, Serafina, hi. Good to see you. Thank you for calming down. I always praise the act of calming down. And I advise parents to use this as well, because kids don't know they are in control of calming themselves down until you verbally label that for them and tell that to them. And from that point on, like, oh, I can calm myself down. Nice. And I get praised for it. So again, that's when I'll start to give attention. So we have medical, escape, attention, tangible. Obviously, that's stuff, whether it's your phone. Please limit screen time. We can get to that in a little bit. Please. And I'll explain why, but please limit it. Not like none, like my wife and I do, but limit it. And I'll get to that. I'll get to screen-free parenting in a bit too. That's a tricky. But have your kids earn things is really the key. If a child wants something, it's always good to make them do something to get it. Otherwise, you are turned into giant slaves by their vantage point. There's these humans that are giant slaves that can pick me up and do things for me, and they better. Otherwise, I'm going to let them know that I'm upset with them and they better get on it. But if they understand otherwise, that, oh, if I want something, I need to point. If I want something, I need to say its name. I need to say a sentence. I need to use please. It becomes normalized. It's a non-issue. Once you're consistent on enough time, with enough of the targeting behavior that you want to see, it's normal, and you're kind of done with it at a certain. It's like potty training. After you go through potty training for a while and they get it, they got it. You don't have to worry at 6 or 7 or 8. Oh, better revisit potty training to make sure they don't lose it. Like they got it. It's like that with a lot of things. But you wanna make them in some sort of way earn it, and the earliest way to do that is simply pointing. And kids can start pointing as early as 9 and 10 months. I promise you. At 9 and 10 months, kids can point to get things they want. Before that, they got a free rein. You can give them a free 6, 7 months, 8 months of just life where nothing's expected of them and everything's free. But at 9, 10 months, if you want to start giving your child higher expectations, you're allowed to. Set rules. Talk to your partner, talk to community about what rules do we want for our kid to follow. And a very easy first one is point to get something. If they can't do that, then hey, give me a high five. Good job, give me a high five. Here's a toy. Here's a juice. Here's whatever it may be. And again, you're creating that neuronal pathway of understanding that life is give and take because life is give and take. And the earlier they learn that and master that, it's out of the way and they have space to learn and master other things. Because remember, babies were born ready to learn. They want to learn more. Give them the opportunity. Trust them. Give them credit. They can handle it. Give them credit. Final letter, S, sensory, as I discussed, when your long sleeve gets bunched up, or if you step in a puddle and you have a wet sock on one shoe. If we're comfortable, if we're uncomfortable, you just made a face, right? It's an uncomfortable thought, right? Just a wet sock walking around all day. If you're uncomfortable, you're going to have behaviors. I give an example. If a child is hot, if some kids who come to school and the parents layer them up because it's cold outside, but might not realize, oh, they have two long sleeve shirts on and they're sitting next kind of close to the radiator. They're complaining because they're hot. They're behaving in a way that seems angsty because they're hot, but they don't have the language skills to say, excuse me, provider, I'm hot. Could you help remove this top layer for me, please? That would be lovely. No, they don't have language yet in my center. So most of them don't. So they're just going to cry, or they're going to tantrum, or they're going to swipe the materials off the table. And it's on us to say, okay, what's the function of this behavior? Is it escape? Is it something else? Oh no, they're uncomfortable. This child is physically uncomfortable. Let's fix that. So again, MEATS, medical, escape, attention, tangible, sensory. These 5 words dictate all behavior. All behavior. You can apply it to your dog. I'm not kidding you. It's really all behavior. It's why we do whatever we do. And when you can zero in on that, you can problem solve for your child faster. And as a result, they're going to trust you more. And this is something I think is underrated in parenting. You want to build your child's trust, and that doesn't just happen by feeding them and bathing them and putting them in bed. It's in moments where a child is in need, when a child says, hey, can you help me out with something, without saying those words, and you can understand that. They will trust you and say, okay, you understand, and you'll see the look. I promise you, you will see a look that give you of trust. You'll see a look that they just kind of look at you in the eyes and like, all right, I'm good with you. I'm glad I got you. And then you'll be, it's a warm moment. But that's the acronym. Play with it and read about it a little bit in my book, and reach out if you have any questions, folks. I love fielding questions.
Yes, and that that trust factor, and it also just lets them know that you've got their back. You're looking out for them. You have valuable information, as you said. That's so important. And, this teaching that we're doing and, the repetition in terms of help making them to point consistently, for example, for what they want or whatever, we're giving them valuable information. As you said, they're connecting the dots that when I do this, this happens. And I always call it news you can use. I was always saying it's news you can use, especially when my children were getting a little older, and consequences, and they understand that a lot better. It's like, those if then statements, if you clean up your room, then we can go to the park or whatever we're doing. That's the information. So, let me know. Let me know when you're ready. And then that's it. I mean, and that's different language than, we're going to the park. You haven't cleaned up your room. It's it's the same information. You obviously want your child to clean up his room, and you're not going to go to the park until that happens. But the way you say it, the way you communicate that, it gives them an opportunity to, if I do this, then we're going.
Right.
We'll be right back after this. You love your kids. You do your very best for them. But sometimes it feels like it's just not enough. And you're so sure you're the only one who feels this way. The truth is, you're not alone. It is also true that there are some things you're doing quite right. And there's a community who would love to exchange ideas with you. I'm Carol Maletta, creator of the Parenting 411, a portal for parents where I share information parents need through webinars and masterclasses. And not only that, the parents there support each other on this amazing journey in the Parenting 411 community group on Facebook. I can't wait to meet you in the community. And we're back with the Parenting 411.
I believe they say that communication is 7% words, 38% tone, and then 58% body language. I might be switching body language for tone, but either way, it's not what you say, but how you say it, right? And the if then statement that you just made, the quality of that phrase and the quality of formulas like that for toddlers is so profound. And it's tricky for a lot of us, right? Because we weren't all raised with gentle parenting. We weren't all raised with conscious parenting. We were raised by parents who were raised by parents who were taught that this is how you discipline a child into doing what you want. And that was normal. And there was no questions about it. If you cry, I'll give you something to cry about. You know,
yes.
There was a, you know, it was a bit of a different, it was a different atmosphere. But it's on us to it's on every generation to elevate and learn from what worked from the previous generation, because a lot of what our parents did work, and we have to respect that. And it's also on us to respect what did not work and say, okay, if that didn't work for me, did that work for you? That didn't work for you either. Maybe that doesn't work for anyone. So how do we tackle that a little bit different? And when you say if and then statements, first then statements, when then statements, it really helps a child understand the sequence, expectations, and rewards/consequences. Because you can use if then for if you do X, then you'll get this reward. You can also use it for if you do X, then you'll get this consequence. You're not gonna like this consequence, so let's not do this X. And it's easier for them to digest. Like you said, if you said, you remember a park, didn't clean your room, how does a child digest that? Right. How does a child digest that information? I didn't clean my room, I'm not going to the park, I'm bad. Okay, this is sad, I can't do what I want and I'm bad. Versus, no, you have power in this equation. Although you want something, and in order to get something, there is something that you must do. There's accountability. It's important to teach kids accountability, and not just in a punitive sense, like you didn't do this, so now you're punished. Right. That's not healthy. That's not telling a child what to do. And a child doesn't just automatically figure out what to do from being punished and what not to do. You know, in the book, I talk about affirmative rules. It's important to get them what to do. Do this here.
Yes, I had to learn that one because I found myself, I'm trying to remember how old they were. I don't think they had reached 2 yet, but this was when I knew that I need to kind of look into some books or parenting classes. It was like, no. And really what I likened it to is like, now that I'm going to really age myself here with pinball machines, but remember how they just bounce off the wall? I mean, I feel like that's what they're doing. They're bouncing off of this imaginary fence because you haven't given them limits. That's what I realized for myself. And I had to start talking about what they could do and where they could do it. And that was just so much more empowering.
1,000%. I teach my staff to use certain phrases like, that's not food, we only eat food, instead of saying, don't eat that. Don't eat that. Yes. Because if a kid, all the kids I work with obviously have autism or some development delays. If you're telling a child who's holding a ball, don't eat that, what their brain is telling them is literally, right now, this thing that I'm eating, I should not eat. And that means 2 things. That means later I might be able to eat it. It also means I can eat anything else because I don't eat that. Yes. Versus that's not food, we only eat food. As you said, telling someone where to do something, don't climb, instead of saying don't climb, say, hey, we're at school, we climb at the park. Tell them where to do the behavior. Tell them how to engage in certain. Don't spit. We only spit when we're brushing our teeth. Things along those lines. And you have to get creative, and it feels fake at first for some people, but I promise you, the results are worth it. You don't have to do it forever, as long as you're consistent.
Yes. That was definitely an adjustment. And even when I started early on in parent education with a nonprofit organization in my area, that, we would hear that from parents, like, why do I have to explain and justify? And it's not justifying. It's news you can use. It's news they can use.
News they can use. I love that. I got a copy of that. News they can use. Write that one down right now.
So, yeah. So where do parents begin as they try to help their children reach milestones and Yeah, well, let's start there. How do they know? What are the resources out there that can tell them, like you said, something about at 9 months they can begin pointing and all of that? Is there where can they find a list of things or things they without having to read the thick digest? I don't
Right.
want to name the book because I don't want to
Don't
disparage a certain popular author. At least it was popular when I was younger. A thick digest about what their kids can do at what age.
That's fair. As simple as it gets, start with Google. Make it easy for everyone and be specific, right? My child is 9 weeks old, 9 week old checklist, 9 week old milestones. My child's 9 months old, 9 month old checklist, 9 month old milestone. Just put in those words, you'll get answers. You'll get answers. If you're concerned and you think your child might have delays, on Autism Speaks, they have a lot of checklists that are broken down by the month. But do the research. Do the simple research of just putting in your child's month age and put the word milestone, and you'll find, oh, my child should be sharing toys at this point. My child should be doing this. My child should be using a utensil at this point. And you can also ask yourself, if you see your child struggling with something, like at what age should a child fill in the blank? At what age should my child be able to pick up a Cheerio by themselves, fine motor skills? At what age should my child be able to dress themselves? At what age should my child be able to bathe themselves? Get curious, ask lots of questions. We have resources available to us that generations before us never dreamed of. And to not take advantage of instant information, instant knowledge from reputable sources, American Academy of Pediatrics, you see anything from that site, it's golden. It's the golden standard, believe it. And don't feel down if your child isn't meeting all milestones at the same time. There's almost no child who's hitting every single milestone at any age. It's usually something that they're not quite perfect with. Maybe they got everything, but they don't socialize right. Maybe they do everything, but they're not speaking as much as they should be. Fill in the blank. That's okay. You don't need to be a perfect parent. Please don't try. No one is. But do your best. Make the effort and try and dedicate time to either speak with, if you have a partner, speak with your partner, with the community, at least a day a week where you have a conversation so that it's being refreshed. You don't want to be a one-off check. Okay, I heard this great podcast, 4-1 parenting really made me think I'm going to check this out today. And then 3 months later, like, oh yeah, I should check again. No. Every week, refresh. Every month, refresh. What my wife and I did, it might seem crazy. I am data driven, but honestly, it was my wife's effort. 90%. We made like not a journal, but she's a graphic designer, excellent, fantastic artist. And she would take a picture and then next to it, just list off all the things that our child was able to do each given month. And we did that from birth until 12, and then we kind of just fell off. But we could see, oh, now she's humming a song. Oh, now she's singing lyrics. Now she's whatever it may be. Have fun with it. Be curious, and just do simple research. It doesn't have to be too complex. Google search is there for you. Make sure the site is reputable. Okay. Again, if it's American Academy of Pediatrics, you're good. If it's coming from a hospital, you're good. Aim for those two in particular. Okay.
I'm glad you pointed that out too, in terms of going to Google. Yes. Reputable site, reputable sources.
Reputable sources. Yeah. As my father always used to say, consider the source. You can get information from anyone, but consider the source. If it's coming from a doctor, a pediatrician, that's good news. You want to see that. And then, ask the questions. What is my child doing right now? What do I wish my child was doing? What did I see that child doing that my child isn't? And now I'm curious, is that child advanced or is my child a little behind? And don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. That's a waste of time. just get to it, get through it, and ask away. But it starts there. And then also make a list for what you'd like your child to do. Start talking about what you'd like your child to do. Don't just be content and say, this is what it is. There's nothing I can do. You do have power as a parent to, to elevate your child right where they are every single day. Small interactions.
And it can also be, I also think it can also be like when they see you doing something or they interrupt you doing something, that can be a great time. Would you like to learn how to put the dishes in the dishwasher, or would you like to?
Listen,
I can show you.
Let me tell you something, right? My daughter loves cornbread. We don't really give her sweets that much. But one thing that I said, we're gonna make some cornbread and offer some. And from the first time I made it, from there on after, she helps me, right? She wants to help dump the ingredients into a bowl and stir it. And we got her child-safe knives to practice cutting. And I put a video up on Instagram of her cutting a banana, and it racked up thousands of views, like across the world, out of nowhere, because people just don't see 2-year-olds using a knife to cut things in general. And it's because we raise her screen free, she has so much time to observe us doing things and then say, "Ooh, I want to do that too. Ooh, I want to try that too." And we're so hands-on, it gives her brain that's ready to learn, that wants to learn, more and more opportunities. So the more time you really spend with your child, the more they're going to develop. My wife said she read something the other day, don't quote me on this, that said the average parent spends, or parent average how long they spend actually playing with their toddler per week. And the parent's response was 30 minutes. And I thought, right. I thought to myself, how is that possible? How you have 168 hours in a week? How are you dedicating so little time to actually meaningfully engaging your child? Again, parenting isn't just feeding and bathing and buying clothes for your kids and sending them to school. That's not it. Yes, there's childcare. That's legally required, but that's that's not it. Play with your kid. Don't just give your kid something to play with and then sit on the couch and scroll mindlessly. Play with your kid. Get on your knees. Have a little dinosaur parade. Play, roll a ball back and forth. Sing songs. Yes, they'll want you to sing it again. Yes, they'll want you to sing it again. That's okay. This makes a difference. It makes a difference in right now, in the memories you have, and in what your child will be in the future. You don't want your memories of your child's toddlerhood to be seen from behind your phone and just pictures that you took in a moment that you wanted to post of how cute my kid looks right now. Engage them. It makes a difference in how well they grow, how well they listen and follow instructions. Because if my daughter's going to use a knife, again, it's a toddler safe knife. Right. She has to hold it a certain way. She has to respect the fact it's a knife. She has to, okay, daddy, may I please? Yes, you can. Thank you for saying please, etc. Encouraging manners. Manners matter. You want to encourage manners. And there's ways to introduce that and praise that in the book as well. But the more opportunities you have to engage your child, the more opportunities you have to give your child instruction, which gives the child more time to be teachable, coachable, which means they'll ultimately be more successful because they are going to be open to mentors and be open to learning and continue to want to learn, because the learning process will be reinforcing. It won't be that forced pedagogy where they're sitting in school saying, when am I going to learn this? And no, this is cool. I want to cook. And Dad showed me how to cook. I like learning.
Yes. That's such a gift to give them that gift of learning and willingness to learn and to be coached, as you said, and they'll thank you for it. I mean, they don't have the words, don't have the consciousness. Even as teens, they might not have the wherewithal to thank you for that, but they will. They will appreciate that you've exposed them to different types of experiences. You took time to teach them, and it takes time. It does take time to do it. And I often say, you can pay now or you can pay later, but you got
but you got to pay.
You're going to have to pay. So why not go with, when they're young, and I was talking about this in an interview recently, that a lot of times little children don't care what they look like when they're trying new things. They're not self-conscious and embarrassed. They're just trying, and it might not be exactly working. But, try that with a 13-year-old, then it's like, well, they don't get it right the first time. They're embarrassed, or they're doing it, or you're being mean. Like, why are you asking me to wash dishes now? You must not like me. Whereas, little ones, they start to know this is part of the flow of the house, and and this is my contribution, and this is what I can do. I mean, I made the mistake of saying, because my brother's 5 years older than me and my sister's 12 years older than me, and so they washing dishes. They were washing dishes, and I'm like, oh, I want to know how to wash. I can't. What did I say? And my mom, I said, I wish I could wash dishes. I wish I was big enough. Guess what Mom did? She got a chair.
Yep.
And put me on my knees. I mean, I wasn't I wasn't a toddler per se, but yeah, she put the chair there. I can kneel on it. And then all of a sudden I was big enough to wash dishes. And
Right.
and then I took my turn in the rotation. I was like, oh man, why did I mention that? But but I tell you what, to this day, I'm a very good and very particular dishwasher.
There you go. Start young.
We'll be right back after this. As the saying goes, mother's work is never done, except when it really is. I'm talking about my new book, Mother's Work, Pearls of Wisdom and Gems from My Journey. I share my transformation from an outmanned, overwhelmed mom of twin boys to a parenting strategist and consultant, and being honored as DC Mother of the Year by American Mothers Incorporated. In Mother's Work, I tell you about the 7 guideposts that kept me anchored as I weathered the peaks and valleys of motherhood. Grab your copy at carolmaletta.com/motherswork. And we're back with the Parenting 411. I want to talk again about behavior, because of course, a lot of parents of toddlers, when they seek me out, they are experiencing some kind of power struggles. And so what are 3 tips you could share quickly? Because I really think they need to just get the book. But what are 3 tips for handling those tough moments?
All right, a couple things. Remember that all behavior continues as long as it's effective. That's really the big takeaway parents need to remember. 2, take a deep breath. If you are not calm, it is very difficult to bring someone else to calm. Shouting and yelling at a kid, relax, calm down, you gotta do this, because that's you're not being helpful. If a kid is having a tantrum, or worse yet, a meltdown, parts of their brain have been triggered, their amygdala and the hippocampus in particular. And those control emotions, hormones, and temperature. And if those are really triggered, that child is literally out of control. So sometimes what you really have to do is simply wait. Get at their eye level. Don't stand down and wait for them towering over them. Get down at their eye level, sit in front of them, about 2 feet in front of them, with a calm, peaceful look on your face. Breathe. Sometimes I'll gently blow a little bit onto their face just to give them a sensory change up from what they're experiencing, and speak as calmly as possible. Walk them off the ledge. Walk them off the ledge. Let them know, hey, I understand that you're not happy right now. I understand that you're having a big feeling right now. But, and then fill in the blank. What is the rule? What is the situation? Explain to them. Yes, explain to them. I know you said before, why not explain? Because it's news they can use. if they're having a tantrum because they're not getting their way, then explain to them that explain to them why they can't have it how they want or what they want. But be super logical. Don't simply say, because I said so, that's insufficient. Don't say, I don't have time for this. Be kind. In that moment, that's when your child really needs to see your love. That's when your child needs your kindness and compassion the most. And it's frustrating because there might be a time constraint when your kid's having the tantrums. There might be social pressure. You might just be tired and not in the mood for it. But that's the beauty of being in any relationship with someone, is being able to give them more of you than you'd expect you'd be able to give them. And that's part of why we have kids, right? We want to give someone all of our love. That's the opportunity to give them all your love. But again, be hyperlogical. So if they're crying because they want a cookie and you already brushed their teeth, explain, well, sweetheart, once we brush teeth, we can't eat food anymore because then your mouth will get dirty and that can give you a boo-boo. Most rules that we give kids are for their safety. All right. Most rules are for their safety or for their health. And if a phrase that anyone can borrow is, we follow rules so we can be safe and live a good life. So we can be safe and live a good life. You explain that to kids, they'll often say, that is news I can use. That explains why. Oh, that's not safe. No, that's not safe. We can't eat things off the floor because if you eat things off the floor, it can give your tummy a boo-boo. I don't want you to have a boo-boo. You don't want a boo-boo, right? Okay, so we have to throw that out. But we have other food we can eat. We can't eat cookies right now because you brush your teeth. If you eat cookies after you brush your teeth and go to bed, your teeth can get a boo-boo, and it really hurts. And I don't want, explain to them the why. And generally the why is because you'll get hurt. In some sort of way, you get hurt or sick. And just enlighten them towards that. They can handle it. But remain calm, stay at their eye level, and wait. Don't force them out of it. Let them know once they finally get to that breathing that you'll still love them no matter what, and let them know that you're proud of them for calming themselves down. Again, I would recommend timing a tantrum when you can, so that you have a personal point of reference. Because some parents really think, "Oh, my kid will tantrum forever," and I say, "Well, that's not true. No, they won't. No, they won't. They're not going to die from tantruming. They're not going to have trauma or some sort of PTSD for trauma from tantruming or crying too long. No kids have ever been hospitalized for crying for too long. It's just annoying, honestly. It's just very annoying for us, and we don't want to deal with being annoyed that much, that loudly for very long. So we're like, how do I stop it? No, don't just hit pause. The only way out is through. Stay calm, get close, breathe, and logically explain, this is what the situation really is. I love you, and be firm. Stick to your guns. This is what the situation is. And repeat yourself. And be very monotone, calm voice. This is what the situation is. And as long as you repeat yourself, you can outlast a tantrum. Because the kid's waiting for your weakness. The kid's waiting for you to cave or give in. And if you're like, all right, you know what, fine, you can have one cookie, and then we'll brush your teeth again and go to bed. Okay, you do that, but tomorrow night, just be ready to do it again.
Exactly. And it's really a dance. And so you all are partners. And if you change what you do, they're going to have to change what they do. And I love you repeated many times in the book, children learn best from what happens next.
Yeah, man. Sequence. Whatever happens next, that's the rule. Okay, cool. I did this, that worked. I'm going to do it again next time. Just a quick heads up for parents. There's something called an extinction burst when you have a tantrum, and this is very difficult for some parents to deal with. But I want you to know this is your green flag, like you're almost done. So when a kid's having a tantrum and you're like, I'm just going to wait this out, I'm not going to do anything until this kid's done, they don't just typically stop. Some kids will stop, and that's great. But typically they'll turn up. They'll say, oh yeah, you're not going to give me a cookie? Well, then I'm going to get even louder. So the neighbors want to call ACS on you. Blah! And they'll go sonic. And then you're like, oh my God, I broke my child. I have to give him a cookie now. When they do this, it's literally like the last birthing pain of getting over it. Again, you're going to hear them turn up in volume or intensity. And so long as they're not hurting themselves or someone else, that's your cue to be like, okay, we're almost done. And there might be a second push. There's not usually a third push. And once you get through that and they realize, wow, that didn't work, then the behavior is ineffective. But if you cave when they turn up, if they started at a 4 and went up to a 6 on this round, next round, they're starting at a 5 and bring it to a 7, baby. And it just gets more and more intense as you cave. So please understand, do not cave when they turn up. They're almost done. That's the signal that they're almost done. Just wait it out. Trust the process. Believe me, I've done this hundreds of times.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that I don't believe they really want to be in that, but well, first of all, they haven't learned that this isn't the best way to operate. We haven't, the way we've been responding has not given them much information they can work with. But I saw this. I remember seeing this. I think my one son was like, I don't know, maybe 5 or something. And he, was going through his thing. And I just remember him like at one point during the process, and then like he looked like, I'm so tired.
Right.
But I still want, whatever it is. And right. That was the first time I looked at, he doesn't really want to be doing this. I mean, exactly. He does want what he wants. And, we have to deal with that. But he doesn't really, he's not doing this just to make me feel bad or whatever. He really just needs a better way. He needs to be
right.
a better
They're not really manipulating you. They're not really manipulating you. And some people think that, this is like they're trying to turn they're not really. It's just that their neuronal pathways have learned this is an effective way. And that screaming nonsense, it starts from infancy. When you're newborn, you're supposed to cry to get what you want. And kids go for 10, 11, 12, sometimes longer months using that technique to get whatever they want. And now we're saying, okay, never do that again. Now do all these new things instead. And they're like, oh, no. We're going to stick with the way I like it, and I'm going to fight for that as hard as I can. It's our job to be like, hey, no. That's not
Yeah,
effective.
I mean, what Dr. Phil says, you teach people how to treat you,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
really, that's what we're doing. Not intentionally, I guess, but by how we're responding, that's how they're figuring out what to do to get what they need, or get what they want.
right.
Could you talk a bit about picky eating? Because I know that I just felt like your book talked about some things that parents really need to understand about eating and how they could help their picky eaters be a little more cooperative for their own sake as well as the parents.
Absolutely, absolutely. So picky eating is common. I want parents to know that it's common amongst 19 to 50% of toddlers. So don't think that your child is being strange. It's for a number of factors. They are literally learning how to eat, and we take for granted how complex the process of eating is because we do it every day and have for decades. There are literally 32 different steps to eating and swallowing your food. And kids are literally learning each step at a time. So have patience, recognize when a child is trying something, and praise a kid even for trying things. But in particular, there's 8 steps towards going from I don't want this food at all to I'm going to now chew this food and swallow it. I have a free bonus on my website so people can download that. It's also in the book, but go ahead and download it and save you some time. But basically, the child will move from not wanting the food to be present at all to accepting its presence, touching it, picking it up, moving it towards their mouth, letting it touch their lips, letting it pass the plane of their lips, maybe touching their teeth, tasting it, chewing it. Step 7 is chewing it. And this frustrates parents the most because they'll chew it and then they will spit it out. And the parents are like, oh, come on, you were so close. But understand, again, they're still figuring out how to actually move their jaw in a proper manner to chew properly, and also deal with the sensory feeling of food on their tongue. But in that step, they're tasting the juice. They're swallowing the juice of that food, so that counts. You want to praise that too. The last step, obviously, is chew and swallow. The important thing to understand is to make it normal for the food to be present. You put the food on their plate, whether it's greens or something else they don't like, and you tell them, this is your food, it stays on your plate. And you're going to do that between 8 to 15 times, not three meals a day for 5 days in a row. I recommend people make it a Thursday night thing. Every Thursday night, we're going to offer broccoli for the next 2 months straight. It just has to stay on the plate. After 8 to 15 exposures, and they've done a study for thousands of toddlers who are specifically picky eaters, after 8 to 15 exposures of a food, the child is usually willing to try it. Problem is, most people don't want to spend the time, energy, and money to feed a child food that they don't think they'll like for 8 to 15 weeks or 8 to 15 days. Again, don't do it 8 to 15 days in a row. The kid's going to pick up on that. They'll be annoyed. Spread it out, and just make it known. You don't have to. They can't throw it off the plate. So they try physically, gently take their hand and say, that stays in your plate, sweetheart. We can eat everything else. You don't need to eat it, but that stays in your plate. That's your food. And that stays in your plate. And again, after some time, they'll pick up what you're putting down, literally.
Absolutely. Now, what's your favorite bit of advice for parents if you had to sum up and encourage parents of toddlers? But what's your favorite bit of advice for parents as they're trying to teach their children proper behavior and life skills?
Reward what you want to see. And
say that again.
I said, reward what you want to see. Catch them being good. When you see them doing something you want to see, be vocal about it and be specific. Ooh, I love how you just cleaned up after yourself. Ooh, I love how you just try to put on your jacket. Ooh, I hear your voice. You're trying to talk. It's so great to hear your beautiful voice. Be specific. Don't just wait for the final exam to be handed in with 100% before you give them a stamp of approval. Catch them being good. Catch efforts. Catch attempts. Pay attention. Behavior you don't want to see, and this is the hard part, but it's really important. Limit your volume in response. Limit how dramatic your response is to behavior you don't want to see. You really want to make your response to naughty behavior, challenging behavior, difficult behavior. You want to make your response boring. You want to make your response, you want to make it very low energy. Simply like, sweetheart, we do not do that. Something as boring as that, because that's not stimulating. Kids love stimulation. They want to be stimulated. They want to hear their name very loud. But you're like, we don't do that. That's not how we behave. That's not acceptable. We're going to do this instead. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. That's how we behave. Great job. That's more stimulating. They're going to want to do that. So again, catch them being good, be vocal about it, be energetic about it. You got to be a little fake about it. Put it on just for now, please. It's okay. It adds up. And then really bring down the temperature and the volume of when you're displeased with behavior you don't want to see. And lastly, tell them what to do. Guide them what to do. If you're telling them, hey, don't do that, pause and say, okay, what is it exactly I want them to do? I want them to sit. Hey, could you sit down on the couch instead of jumping on it? I don't want them to run. I want them to walk. Could we use our walking feet? Let's use our walking feet when we're in the house. That's safe. I don't want you to get boobled. Tell them what to do. They really are looking for it. They want rules. Don't be afraid to set rules and remind them of the rules. And most importantly, be consistent.
So what's next for you and your book and your work, anything you have going on?
So right now I'm teaming up with a pediatric clinic in Maryland. Just had a conversation last night with PM Kids, and I'll be helping lead a mental and behavioral clinic to do some parent workshops, which I'm pretty excited for. The book I'm obviously going to promote and sell however, wherever I can. I'd love to have it. Really, I like to have it in pediatrician clinics. I'd like the parents to have just a visual, oh, this is something that will help me between now and my 15-month visit, my 18-month visit, my 24-month visit, so that they can have, again, the phrases they can use and the physical interventions they can try to help their kid meet their milestones. And outside of that, keep advocating as much as I can for kids with delays, advocate for parents to have the tools they need, and hopefully make this world a little bit brighter, make things a little easier.
Yes, well, you definitely are doing that. How can our listeners follow you and learn more about what you have to offer?
They can visit 101behaviorhacks.com. I am on Instagram as Chris Lake. My nonprofit is Community for a Cause. You can find me in either of those. I'm on Twitter as C. Nigel Lake, as well as Community for a Cause. And again, I tell people, reach out. My IG profile is not private. Reach out, send me a message. Let me know how I can help, if I can help. I'm here to serve.
Now, also is the website you mentioned, if you could repeat that, because I think you also mentioned that there was a free download or something.
So yes, on Kindle Unlimited, you can download the ebook for free, and then you can also purchase the paperback. It's $25 on 101 Behavior Hacks, 101behaviorhacks.com. On the landing page, you'll see a link for both Amazon ebook as well as the paperback right on the first page. So feel free to check that out. Leave reviews, leave comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know how it helped.
Sounds great. Sounds great. And thank you so much for sharing all of this valuable information. I know that
Thank you.
Our listeners are really going to benefit from this. And as usual, to my listeners, I appreciate you spending time with us today. And please like and share, subscribe if you don't already, share this episode, because I think I know that it's very useful information for parents of young toddlers. As I've shared in other episodes and just a little bit here, I have had a unique experience with raising my young children. And I talk about it in my mini motherhood memoir, Mother's Work, Pearls of Wisdom and Gems for My Journey. And I'm offering it free, just need you to pay postage and handling. That's at mothersworkthebook.com. Hope you'll take advantage of that. And follow me as usual at the Parenting 411 on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And always remember, it's never too late to be the parent you want to be.